Hey everybody, welcome to Sexy Nerd Science Season 5, Episode 8. I'm Drew, as always, here with Dale and Josh. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Yo.
Oh, bold choice, Josh. Going with the yo with your
it's the new glasses, yeah. They're not sunglasses. These are my regular prescription glasses. Super reflective Agent Smith looking glasses.
They are pretty Agent Smith. What brand are those?
Oakley.
We are now sponsored by Oakley's, even though Josh had to pay out the ass for them.
Lots of money.
All right, so guys, we got a great show for you guys. Dale, wait, how's my levels? We didn't do levels.
We're good.
My level's good? Good.
Your levels are good, yeah. If
Yeah,
you stay where you're at
level.
right now, then you're good.
All right, so, and then we did...
No, we're not doing freeze frame on an audio podcast.
All right. For those listening at home, I freeze framed with my mouth open. So I've also got this like Freddie Mercury vibe going on. So sorry if I drag the mic all over the place.
Your overbites right here.
Oh, that's my forehead. Leave me alone. Overbite or underbite?
We all have problems with something.
Well, there's a difference between your receding hairline and my protrusive forehead. Okay,
Dale,
so
for it to be receding, it couldn't have always been like that. And I swear to you, Dale's hair has pretty much always been like that.
I guess if you look at mine's probably the same shape as Dale's.
It's definitely thinning out, though. I can tell that for sure.
Mine?
Dale's, yeah.
Well, on my mom's side, she has very thin hair, and on my dad's side, he has very thick and it just constantly grows. And I don't think it's because I check every day for gray hair. And I hope I have some soon.
Yeah.
I want to get to that age where I'm like, just a little bit, just a little something.
Too. I want a salt and pepper beard. That's all. I'm thinking about like getting some like gray in.
Just for men gray? Just for gray or just for men gray?
Gray. Man, I'd catch all of my wife with that.
There is you can get like a just for men where it doesn't, like if you have gray hair, it gives you some color, but not full like color for that specific purpose.
Yeah, but it's the other way around.
Yeah, I want it to add gray, not take gray away. Of course, we're saying that now when we're 50 years old. We're like, we need to take some gray away.
Yeah, right. All right, so we're gonna young people.
They want you to take the roles.
We're 50 years old. That's our. I remember when they first invented chocolate.
Chocolate. All right, so we are going to get into some sexy news for you guys here. I am fairly certain this will probably be the second to last podcast before. I
think we'll have one more and then we'll finish.
I was gonna say
we like to take a week off, but we're gonna take that week off when we go to a con.
I was gonna say I assume we'll probably won't do that Thursday or Wednesday recording because we'll be packing up our game and head out west, out south,
down south.
So we are going to be at Planet Comicon in Kansas City, March 29th through the 31st.
Touring with Tech 9.
Touring with Wiz Khalifa. Dale, you do one. Dale, you do one.
I'm touring with Smash Mouth.
Yeah. Hey now. Dale's an all-star.
I literally told my buddy that I like Smash Mouth. And he's like, no, we're not friends anymore. And he like removed me from the Discord. He kept doing it every time I said, no, I do. I like it. It's one of my favorite bands.
Literally. If you like Dale's
Shrek,
ringtone on his Nokia like indestructible phone,
the Nokia 3130
was the Smash Mouth All-Star.
Why is it not my ringtone now?
I don't know why it's not your ringtone.
I don't know why it's not
my ringtone now for you.
All right, we're gonna get a ringback tone for Dale. Hey,
T-Mobile doesn't offer. Oh, I just realized something about Planet that Dale's not gonna shut up about.
Yeah.
I have where our booth is located and who's right next to us.
Yeah, so
I know T-Mobile's right next to us.
And Dale's like, I got T-Mobile.
Dale's going to be sucking T-Mobile's way.
Okay, how much you talk about AT&T and how much I talk about T-Mobile, I have days worth of backlog I can go.
I literally, I'm saying this right now. I have AT&T and Verizon. And neither of them is superior to one another all the time. Most of the time, Verizon beats out AT&T, but not all the time.
So I have AT&T and not Verizon, and I just want to point out that Josh works for a cell phone company, so he's kind of entitled to do that. Whereas Dale just sucks the dick of the person he doesn't work for.
Dale just hates AT&T. That's the problem.
I hate AT&T.
Dale is so anti AT&T. He doesn't care who. Like he could have Verizon, and he'd be doing the same thing for Verizon all the time. Verizon's better than AT&T. It's not like a T-Mobile thing.
Okay, I can tell you right now that Sprint is better than AT&T.
You shut your mouth. First of all, Sprint's about to be bought by T-Mobile.
First
So.
First of all,
why it's better.
That's scientifically proven wrong. Second, our booth is going to be at in the Planet Entertainment Zone in P74. We're going to be right next to will be T-Mobile and the
Disciples of Gaming.
It's a VR. Oh man, we're gonna be right next to VR again. Oh yes, that was so fun.
Hopefully it's not loud though.
Well,
it'll be around the corner, and usually with VR you have headsets.
Yeah, so you'll have the headset.
Well, yeah, but they had that last time. They had the headsets when we were at Comicon, and then they also had like it blaring out, so it would bring people around.
That's true.
So hopefully it's not too terrible.
We'll just wait till they put on the headsets and punch them in the dicks. What if they have girls there? This is 2018 or 19. This could happen.
And it could be a girl with a dick too.
That's true.
So I mean,
you're very
and I would equally punch them in the dick too.
Dick punching for everybody.
So we're on
the social norm spectrum.
We're equally punching dicks.
I was watching. So Dale got me into Letterkenny, and I was watching it today. And this says now that we're on the dick punching thing. But like in the end of season 1, there's literally a scene where like the younger sister just straight up like football kicks some other girl right between the legs.
I got punched in the dick before it was cool.
Yeah, but watching a girl like literally just choose to like just straight up kick another girl right in the cooch, hilarious. And I'm sure it like hurts. Like, I mean, it's not as bad, but I'm sure it's very painful for women as well.
I guarantee with a hard enough kick, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah, it's just. But I was like, you know what? Good Canadian TV right here.
So
I think it's online only. I don't think it's a.
It was on a Canadian TV show. Like, there's 6 seasons, aren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it was on like Canadian TV at one point in time, I think. But
so we are going to be a hop, skip, and a jump from the entirely large 5-Hour Energy booth.
Right next to Tapcade and Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City locals.
Yep. And then we're going to be just a short jaunt to the cosplay showcase, which is going to be the closest cosplayer being
the Neegs.
Jessica Negri, who we met last year.
So just to give everybody context to people who are listening, we are not in the normal exhibitor booths. We are with Project Nerd in the area that's all the way to the
north of the building.
Yeah,
I guess
it's a special area called the PEZ. I can't. It's the Planet Entertainment Zone, I think it's called. And so it's all the food, Geico, a bunch of all these areas.
Warner Bros. We're right across the aisle from Warner, or catty corner across from Warner Bros.
I mean AT&T.
Oh yeah, I guess that's
true. Was there AT&T there?
Well, no, AT&T's owns Warner Brothers.
Yeah, okay,
it's true.
So, but yeah, we're in a completely different area. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, so normally we're in exhibitor space, so we're typically center of the whole exhibit place. Last year we were in, I think it was. I want to
Alley.
It was right by the last year. We were in Artist Alley, were we?
No,
yeah, right by the bathrooms. If you scroll,
that was Kansas City. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was like right over by that women's bathroom. I think it was one of those corner booths.
Oh, I thought it was up here. I thought we were in the 18 aisle. Or no,
we were in the 37s.
37s.
Or no, 38s. 38s.
No, that's way far.
We were right next to the doors. Remember?
Were we? Yeah, because we were.
No way. No. We were way further down. We were next to the doors towards the front.
I think they switched it because I think we were right here by where this U.S. toy was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were in the 3805, which is
empty,
which is empty this year. Oh no,
or in my parents' basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were at 3805.
You enjoy that booth space in my parents' basement if you're listening to this podcast.
Because this is where we loaded in, way over here. So we met all those people,
and we're like, oh, I wish we had a cart.
So we're totally getting one that way.
My stuff's on wheels.
So which way is the doors? Is that over by the 5-Hour Energy area, or is that?
Nope, it's over by the celebrity photo op.
That's what I thought.
So
the load-in doors, is that what you're talking about?
Here. Yeah, this whole load-in section. So I can't believe they put us literally on the entirely opposite end of all those celebrities.
Yeah.
They don't want to come over to talk to us.
Yep. We got some of the cosplayers. That'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, we always get the cosplayers though.
Yep.
Not that it's a bad thing. It's like we're not worried about that. I want to.
And so that backroom thing there though is like they go through there a lot for the celebrities. So,
well, whichever. We're also doing. I think is it just me or is it me and Josh or
it's you? I mean, I would love to be there. I don't know if they're going to let me be there, but it's one representative per podcast essentially.
So I know for sure Iggy has talked to me. We'll be doing the podcast do's and don'ts of podcasting in room 2504 A and B.
I think they're just both of them A and B.
Okay.
And it's called the studio. I don't know if there's a sign for it or whatever, but it's 2504 AB.
And that'll be Friday.
That's Friday at 4:30. So it'll be Project Nerd. So it'll be, I think, Adam, John from Worst Comic Podcast Ever, and me with SexyNerdScience.
And I think Iggy's moderating it.
Yeah. No, John.
Oh yeah,
John is moderating it.
No, there was somebody who tagged us in Twitter for that.
Yeah. Is it Josh or Jake or?
No, it's neither of them. It was a girl, I believe.
Yeah. Shout out to her for tweeting at us. Thank you so much.
Let's find that.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, let's pull it up. Yes.
So you can check out planetcomicon.com to get tickets. I think a 3-day pass is like $74.64 or something like that.
Joey L. Mills.
Okay. This is going to sound terrible, but I remember it was a Joey, like a man's name, but we know that that's not a man's name because it's a girl.
Yeah, and the facts of life exist.
Well, because it's in the picture it has a guy and a girl, and so I really don't know, honestly.
Well then,
but in more pictures it's a girl.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I didn't check.
At least on the Facebook one.
On the Twitter one, it's a bunch of memes. So
that's how you know it's a good Twitter.
That is good Twitter. Was it a meme lord?
I don't know. Meme
lord.
All right. So, but that's really cool. I'm excited for Planet Comicon. Gonna have my family there. Gonna have the Planet Comicon family there. Hopefully, we get to have another awesome time with Jessica Negri. Hopefully, she can sneak away and come sit down with us. Hopefully,
and burp into the mic again.
Yeah, that was something else. We should put that at the end of our podcast.
It's my favorite. Yeah. Because like I did the down to the sickness intros, and she was like, which for those of you guys that like Vine, like the one where it like does the thing and the guy's like, ooh, and like just screws it up, like just does a terrible job of doing it at karaoke. Jessica Negri's burp I thought was better than that dude trying to do it at karaoke.
Perfect.
It was on point.
And then one last bit about Planet Comicon here. It is the 20th anniversary of Planet Comicon. Or at least this specific Planet Comicon. I know that there's a bunch of other Planet Comicons, but
I don't know what Dale was trying to look out there.
But for our reoccurring segment of the year, our pop culture literacy with Josh and Dale.
So Dale, have you heard of?
I don't like these. They scare me every time.
Have you heard of the 7 degrees of bacon?
It's 6
or 6 degrees of bacon. Yeah,
6 degrees of separation.
But it's this idea that Kevin Bacon is only 6 degrees of separation away from any other celebrity.
Yeah.
So there's a 1 degree of separation between Chris Evans and Brie Larson.
Alternatively, Captain Marvel
and Captain America.
Gotcha.
Name that connection.
Name the celebrity that's between them?
No.
Or the thing that they were in. I mean, you can name a celebrity that they know exclusively.
If you give us a celebrity that they both worked with on the same film, I will count that as a degree.
Scott Pilgrim.
Wow.
That's exactly what we're going for, Dale.
Yep.
Michael Cera would have accepted that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Michael Cera not only defeated Brie Larson and Chris Evans, but also defeated the Atom/Superman.
Yep.
Can't remember that guy's name off the top of my head.
Todd.
His name's Todd?
Oh, well, in the show, his name was Todd.
Oh, yeah. That's not vegan?
Chicken's not vegan.
Milk and eggs, bitch.
Maybe ovo-lacto vegetarian. Maybe I partake in nor the egg or the breast milk or the ovum of any creature with a face. So good job, Dale.
Thank you. Facebook this week saved me.
Yay.
Facebook that week saved you?
Yeah, I saw a meme about it.
Oh, really?
Have you seen Scott Pilgrim?
Was it before Facebook went down?
Yeah, I think I saw
this is breaking news
this week.
Facebook went down earlier today.
Yeah, I don't think I remember seeing it sometime last week or this week. Yeah, I can't remember when I saw it, but I think my buddy Tom posted about it, and it was like Superman, something along those lines.
Superman,
Captain America, and then
Captain America, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna fight our way into nerdy news here. You like that?
I did.
Nice. What's this project xCloud?
So I don't think we talked about it this year yet, and it's not been out, but it's been talked about now since CES 2018 in October. And pretty much what it is Microsoft is coming out with a platform, a cloud gaming service, and it's called Project xCloud, and it's pretty much you'll be able to play any Xbox game anywhere on any device. So
also,
smartphone, on your TV. You don't need an Xbox to play.
Well, so that's what I kind of touched on that a little bit when we talked about the Xbox games library coming to the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
But this is something that I didn't recognize by name, so I mean it's not terribly.
Yeah, they have a little video on YouTube.
How is this different from Game Center then?
I don't know what Game Center is.
So on any Windows device, you can actually access with my Xbox being on, I can access my games.
You don't have
on
to
my
have an Xbox to be on.
It doesn't have to be on?
No, you don't
have to have an Xbox. So for this, they actually have like a data center in all.
Okay.
And they have 4 Xboxes, and the video does a good job explaining it. They have 4 Xboxes per sleeve, and they have like 20 sleeves per tower, and they have like 100 towers in the data center.
Yeah.
And what you can do is you can get on your phone, you can get on your computer, you can get on any device, even the Xbox, obviously, and stream the game. And I'm not talking about download the game and then play it. I'm talking about you log in and you stream all the content, everything on your device. Now, the first thing I thought of
IoT stuff.
The first thing I thought of was 2 major things. Is one, the bandwidth is going to increase, obviously, the need for, if this is going to happen, you're going to need a lot more internet. The second thing is Microsoft actually has to do a lot more infrastructure. Turns out they did both those things. They have tons of infrastructure. They've planned this very well, at least based on the video I watched. Obviously, execution is another thing. They said they've tested this now since October, and it's worked great. They said very low lag, very low latency issues, especially with 5G coming out, and that's why I have 5G on there.
Yeah. A question: has this been updated since its original posting date?
So this was October 2018. I didn't really look into it deeper than that. I wanted to get more of your guys' opinion on it. Like, do you think it would be a good idea to have Xbox on your devices?
So the Xbox Games Pass is what has been rumored to come to the Switch. Now, obviously, that the Switch itself is a console, and you have the Xbox on its own console. To me, it's no different than booting up the Xbox through my PC and playing on that game. That being said, you have to have a compatible Xbox controller to play some of the games. You cannot play via mouse and keyboard on the computer, so you have to have a compatible interface there. So changing the interface from I know in this picture it has like a looks like a controller adapter or something to that effect.
Bluetooth. things.
So all the newer Xbox controllers that are wireless do use Bluetooth, and they do connect to computers and other devices as well. I use an Xbox controller for all my online gaming.
Do you have,
including Knights of the Old Republic?
Do you have? Does yours need an adapter though? Because your computer doesn't have Bluetooth.
What it is, is my I have to wire mine in automatically. But I mean, and even then, like you'd probably want to wire it in anyways for power reasons.
There's some wireless Bluetooth adapters that you can get, or not wireless, but there's Bluetooth adapters that you can get, and some people do internal USB ports in their PCs.
Oh yeah.
So that it's not something that's visible. It's it's buttoned up, tucked up in some of the the inner framework of a cage, and then there's just an internal USB port that's done. You can get those via cards, or some motherboards have them.
A lot of them have like the one slot of PCI slots.
Yeah,
Fortnite players have been doing this already anyways, using the Xbox controller on iPhone and on the Android devices to play Fortnite on their device that way. So it works pretty well that way. I think like Dale said, like my biggest thing, I mean, call me crazy for loving 5G, but like I love all the possibilities of what 5G is going to bring.
Well, I didn't even think of this as an option for 5G, because to me, I have 4G LTE. I stream HD movies. I have no issues with latency or playing games. So to me, I was like, I can go a little faster, but 5G is like,
it'll be insane fast,
10 times faster, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like to me, I was like, okay, this is cool, but it's more of a gimmick than anything. And then eventually we'll catch up
100 times faster. I mean, that's a crazy thing.
So if this would work, I think, or, if they can pull this off, it's a whole new ball game for gaming.
Well, and the thing about that is we all carry our phones. So if it's something that's easily accessible and I got 10 minutes to wait, that I guarantee it's something that you can load that game up from a cloud save in under minutes.
Well, it's all cloud based. So like you don't have the games, you don't have an Xbox. You turn on your phone. You have the controller hooked up on or the phone connected to the controller. It has a picture of it. It's like
little mount,
yeah. And then you literally just play as stuff goes on, or you can just take your phone out and then like if it's not a quick game or something, you can actually use the controls on the phone itself.
Which is what I was mentioning is if it's something that's cloud based, as far as like the save data and stuff like that would also be cloud based, I would assume.
Yeah.
You can get that cloud based save data, and then basically you just open up the app, click your game, and within minutes you're into that game.
Yeah.
Which what it's doing is it's mimicking the Switch with the existing hardware. I mean, you carry your phone. The only additional piece you'd have to carry would be a controller and a mount if you wanted to do that. But
that's extra, and that's if you're gonna go somewhere where you can play. You know what I mean?
Which also brings into the further development of having phones now that do have keyboards in them, or so like. I know we kind of joke around, but like flip phones where they used to have the full keyboard flip phone, like now you'd essentially have a gaming, like Xbox or like Microsoft could launch a new phone with 5G on it, with all that stuff that literally you flip it up and then inside there is a gamepad.
Do you remember they had that like at one point?
Oh yeah, Nokia had one that was actually like a game and TV watching thing. You used to be able to get TV channels over the signal through that.
Yeah, it's definitely something that could be a whole new thing for gaming.
Maybe not new, but like a new.
I think it's a new, and the guy even said new paradigm in the little article they said. It's because it's not the norm. It's a gimmick, and I think this could be the norm. Where I thought like VR and stuff was gimmicks, I feel like this could make.
This is the one I had.
With 5G and this cloud-based storage or this cloud-based gaming, it's not far off to something like Ready Player One for me.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, and then I know you think VR is kind of gimmicky, but like, I mean, as VR progresses, and I'd love to talk to the VR guys about this more. Like, it's going to be more fun if you can just anywhere like connect to 5G somewhere and play a VR experience. You know, like you just literally take your phone and put it on and you're good to go to play this game. You know, it's something that I think is going to be a really fun way to do gaming. Like I'm excited. I love VR. I think it's a awesome thing.
Do you have those things in there?
So yeah, that phone is the same phone, and I had that phone in 2007. That was literally one of the coolest phones I've ever owned, and yeah. So anyway, back to this
more gaming news.
Yeah, more gaming news. We talked about Critical Role last week. Had raised $5.6 million at the time of posting. It was at posting the episode. It was at like 5.8. Dale, do you have a current?
Yep, 7.2.
$7.2 million with 36 days to go, and they have 53,000 backers. So if you're interested in that and that show or that web series, please go check them out at their Kickstarter under Critical Role.
Their last or they're not last update, but they're one of the things they had like a milestone for was 7,500,000, and they're almost there.
So,
by the way, how's PewDiePie doing?
I don't know.
T-Series ever surpassed PewDiePie yet?
Oh, that's old. I'm not playing that game. I'm not even looking up those stats. And I think Josh and Drew just got frozen. So I think I'm just recording by myself right now. They'll be back in a second.
We're here. There you go.
Oh, see, we were disconnected for a second, but we're back.
Really? We heard you the whole time.
Yeah, we heard you the whole time.
And we kept talking.
Well,
we'll see how it is on the recording. But you can't say, because then I know you're about to freeze frame.
We were breathing, Dale, and then we froze. Drew's still frozen.
Yeah.
But
Drew's still frozen. The other side of the screen is fine, but Drew still froze.
So
time to chill.
A freeze is coming.
Seriously, what's up with this weather, guys? Ooh.
A freeze is coming. Okay. All right. This is an audio medium. We can't do this.
Yeah, we can't keep freezing. People
all right.
What are they doing?
Big hitting topic of the past 6 days, or I guess past 2 weeks probably. With
we talked about it last week.
Advanced screenings and everything that came before. Captain Marvel. Dale, did you see it?
Saw it twice.
Twice. Awesome. Tasha saw it twice. Josh saw it once. I saw it once. However, I watched pretty much every clip a second time that I was able to watch on the internet. So I basically piecemealed the movie back together with the internet. So we'll go with that. I've seen it one and a third time.
By the way, people of the internet, did you know Pornhub is like a fantastic way to watch movies like illegally like recorded?
What?
Yeah, so Dragon Ball Super was on Pornhub for or the Dragon Ball Brawly movie was on Pornhub for ever, 2 days after the movie came out.
Really?
In great quality. It was insane. But I was just, when you said Captain Marvel, I was like, I bet Drew was watching Pornhub. Captain Marvel on there.
No,
I'm watching Captain Marvel.
Oh, how was that Spider verse?
It was not very good. I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know if it was because of the compression or not, but
because it had to be compressed to send it through Google, I think.
Nope, it was uncompressed.
Oh, gross.
Yeah,
that's even worse. Awesome, cool.
But yeah, so
great.
Captain Marvel. What's everyone's?
All right,
start
so
going
Dale,
around the round
you
table.
saw it twice. Let's do this.
You want to give me my opinion on it?
I want you to give me your honest review.
I thought the movie was good. I had little knowledge of Captain Marvel. I had no expectations of the movie going in. So to me, I was pleasantly surprised with the show. I don't want to say you knew things ahead of time, but you knew where it was leading to.
I definitely feel that.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yes, I'm not gonna hold back on this one. I mean,
yeah,
we say we'll do a spoiler review or whatever, and then we never do. So I'm just gonna. And let's be honest, who's gonna listen to this in the next 2 months? Right?
They've already people listening to us. They've already seen the movie.
Yeah. So, I'll keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good. So yeah, I definitely saw a lot of the, like, you kind of could tell about, like, she was going back to her past. It kind of felt like a little bit of Green Lantern-y, you know, they crashed and something happened and kind of got these powers. And then you could tell from the beginning that I don't know the black guy's name, but the guy who was in the green suit, you kind of tell he was always with Ronin. So it kind of leads you to think, well, these guys might be the bad guys. So it was kind of predictable, but it wasn't bad predictable. It was kind of like the prequels of Star Wars. You knew where it was happening, or you knew where it was going, and so you kind of like prepared for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you weren't sure where it was going to turn, but you knew it was.
Yeah.
Only if you really knew what was happening.
So
some people, like Amanda, did not see the newer Star Wars movies before she saw the old ones.
All those people who apparently didn't see Star Wars when we went, and I said Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader, and everybody fucking tried to chop my head off. So we got to pretend that nobody's ever seen a freaking movie in this world.
Yeah. So another thing was the last thing. My buddy Kyle was going to be on here tonight, but he works really early, same time I do. But he was actually talking to me about the movie afterward. We both saw it around the same time. He was saying that the people that we thought were bad at the beginning, the shapeshifters.
Yeah.
I can't remember their name.
The Skrull.
They're actually the bad guys and throughout the comics.
Yeah.
So it's very hard because the Kree are they're a race of people that are just living. They're just a race of people that are living. And so the Skrull, I'm assuming, are the same ones, and they just have factions of people who are, terrorists, just like every other group is. But here's the thing. In Guardians of the Galaxy, you had Ronin, who was a Kree, but he was like you remember seeing in the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're talking on phone chat or whatever, and they're like, you need to denounce Ronin. It's like, I can't do that. That's not me. So I think it was the Xanadarians and Kree are two different groups of people.
Yeah.
Which threw me off right away. I thought there was like, well, where's Xandar fit into this? And I didn't catch that right away. And then
because if you notice, there's a lot of different we'll call them species in the Kree. It's basically like they're Asgardians, but they're the Kree. It's not Asgard's not a people. Or a place. It's a people. Well, Kree's not a place. It's a people.
Yeah.
It's made up of all different walks of life. So definitely, like, there could be Skrull that are Kree. I mean, if in theory, obviously we don't show that. But Josh, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, like, kind of piggybacking off what Dale said, like, the Skrull could still technically be bad guys, like, later on. Like, there's a lot that is going to happen between 1993 and 1995. Yeah, I'm sorry. And where they're at right now, which I think is like 2017.
Yeah, I think they're not actually up to us.
But I mean, it's one of those things where, like, there's a lot that can go wrong and happen there, and honestly, like, this was definitely a filler movie between the, to kind of keep us going, to, like, give us background, because obviously they're not just going to introduce Captain Marvel on the next movie and be like, surprise, here's no backstory to the thing. And I think the best example of that is Black Panther, when they just introduced Black Panther in Civil War, or in Winter Soldier, and everyone was like, oh, okay, cool, Black Panther. And, like, it just really wasn't that much of an introduction, not quite like Black Panther would have been.
Well, so the way that they did it, though, is when Black Panther, or when when he tried to save his father, that was the introduction of him as the Black Panther. So it kind of was the opposite effect. You find out how he becomes Black Panther, and then you go on the journey with him in that space.
Yeah.
Whereas this is the opposite direction. You go on the journey with them, finding out how, like, the movie is the how, and then the small bit in the next movie is the how they came in.
Yeah. And I was gonna say I liked going back first and telling the story before introducing the character. I think that's super valuable. I like
it tells backstory with other characters too, like Nick Fury, Coulson.
Exactly. Yeah. And I really liked, how they brought all that together. I liked the story. I thought was really good. I didn't think that was a slow going story. I didn't think it was poorly written, poorly acted. Like, I thought all that was great. I thought the characters were like truly deep characters. They were, they had comedy, they had sad parts, happy parts. There were some times where maybe some more emotional people in my group that were with me did shed a tear or two.
You?
Not me.
Yeah, I cried. I cried like a little baby.
But there were some times where it was sad, but there were also times where I was like, man, this is really good, and really funny too. And so obviously we can all say, I'm sure, Drew, I don't want to get into it, but Goose stole the show for sure. I did not go into that thinking that this cat is going to be one of the most
it's definitely
funny characters.
I thought the exact opposite. As soon as you saw the cat at the beginning, in the middle of the show when they're in the basement or whatever, you don't point something out like that if it's not going to be relevant to the story.
Well, but the thing is it was so. I'll
keep going on. I'll just interrupt if I need to.
So the whole deal with the cat was it was present in her memories. So it was it was misleading because you think that this whole time that she's going to have the cat and the cat's going to be the catalyst, so to speak. And that is a pun.
A cat pun. Yeah.
That was a cat pun. So you think it's
perfect?
No. Top. All right. So, but you think that's
we're done with the podcast after that high five.
Yeah. That's not my clap. That's not a clap. We don't cut the podcast there. All right. So, what was I saying? They kind of think the whole time that's going to be the thing that sets off her memory or something like that, or that's at least what I got from it. But then it ends up being this bigger entity within this bigger piece of the puzzle in that, and I really like that. As far as the cat was concerned, or as far as Goose was concerned, we'll give it a proper name. He's already got a fucking plushie apparently. So
it's at Walmart.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on? I got a lot.
Yeah, like I said, I'll just interrupt you if there's something I think.
Okay.
As we're talking, because
I'm gonna try and touch on my three things. First of all, the movie itself started off.
Let me stop you right there. No, I'm just kidding.
Started off great. As you guys probably anybody is listening, and you guys know, they started that thing off with Stanley right away. They changed the Marvel header. Every picture of Stanley.
Oh, I did cry. I forgot.
Yeah, no. That's immediately where I started tearing up. I was like, oh no, not Stanley. So
it wasn't even that.
Oh, the other part.
Yeah.
So that was really neat. So I saw it at the Alamo. So they had this kind of backstory. They always do something in the beginning of the Alamo shows. Dale, you've seen the Alamo, where they kind of do that history like they did.
It's a little prequel before the show.
Yep.
Where they don't do it in other shows.
Yeah. So what they did is basically they kind of told you the story of Captain Marvel and Carol Danvers and how they become one person. If you're not familiar, at the beginning of the comic series, Carol Danvers was a separate character. She was literally the Clark Kent minus the Superman. And then eventually within the comics, they merge them into one character.
Yep, like Firestorm.
Yeah. And so
that's a good DC comparison, Dale.
Kudos.
Thanks.
Not necessarily. We'll call it. Yeah,
I think so. I see what Dale's picking up.
I see what he's picking up. I think that it is not comparison. Well, whatever. We'll talk about it. It's neither here nor there. Good job, Dale. Oh, don't cut the podcast there. Don't cut the podcast there. All right. So
cut play.
Stop.
Rewind.
We got that bit of backstory, and that was nice for people who didn't, might not have known. I wasn't very familiar with Captain Marvel like her personal persona or Carol Danvers. I though also was not aware of how powerful Captain Marvel is, which brings me into the second part I want to talk about. Is as soon as I saw that little green thing, I assumed that was a inhibitor on her neck.
I didn't get that right away.
Yeah, I thought as soon as I saw it, I thought it was an inhibitor because
or a control chip
or a control chip or something to that effect. Yeah, definitely. Though we find out it is an inhibitor, and that's how that stuff there.
But not necessarily a tracker.
No, the trackers.
Come to think about it, don't move to not put the thing that's implanted in her body also as a tracker.
Well, and the thought about it is like as long as she's wearing her suit, they technically should be able to. But if I think of it like this, is they're not necessarily trying to keep tabs on her. They just don't want her to realize her full potential. So there's no reason to put a tracker in it, except for, I guess, they do know what she is. So.
And I mean, like, she did get lost in the very beginning, and they're like, oh, where's she? Yeah, we don't know. Like, let's check her neck tracker.
Yeah. So, but as far as that, like, she's a very powerful character. This is later on in the movie. I'm going to skip back a minute, but since I'm already on the topic of her power, as soon as she ripped through one of those destroyer ships, like in one fell swoop, just like boop, 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 done. And that thing blew up. I immediately knew why all those fucking neckbeards were so pissed off. And it's because
she's the Superman of Marvel.
Neckbeards.
We'll talk about it in a second.
All the trolley people who were like, Captain Marvel is it's a shitty movie. They're trolling the movie and the
before
reviews,
it came out.
Even before it came out. Some people had saw previews and stuff like that, or not previews, but like preview showing or early access videos or whatever. But I knew exactly why, because exactly what I thought was there is not a single character in the Marvel, like I could not think of another character that literally could just barrel through an entire ship in literally seconds. I mean, you couldn't. What? Go ahead.
So, like, if the Hulk could fly, for sure. B, Tony Stark did it to one of the big old, like, wormy shark things. Literally just flew through it and just launched a bunch of bombs and stuff, blasted his way out, and then the thing crashed.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, Drew. I think I'm on board with Drew, though.
That's like Mark II.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a difference between, like, he still had to. I think
I totally get what you're saying. Like, I said it last week in the podcast. Like, I said she's OG and OP. Yeah. Like, and I even just said it before I even finished. Like, she's got. So Captain Marvel essentially has been given the God treatment, the Superman treatment within the Marvel comics. Like, it's just, is there anything that can stop Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
No. Like.
And knowing, and I'm not sure how this pulls from the comics or where it differs from the comics, but finding out that she gets her powers from the Tesseract is like the icing on the Avengers Infinity War cake for me. Knowing that one of the tools that was used to destroy also gave her, like, powers. Kind of was just like the last piece of the puzzle for me.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to tie in or where they tie in the Tesseract getting to Marvel from the Captain America. I don't know exactly how they're going to tie that in.
Yeah. Because it was in the ice with him, right?
No, so they mentioned that they found the Tesseract. Like, it was like way back in the Marvel movies. They're like, oh yeah, we found the Tesseract, but we kept looking for Steve Rogers and we couldn't find Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
And then they ended up finding him a lot.
The Tesseract fell out of the plane before they crashed.
Yep. And it had a huge energy signature too. So, I mean, they were able to find that in like just after World War II, but they weren't able to find Steve Rogers until like later on, after obviously things happened.
So, and then that's what my thought is okay, so he's got it, or it's in his movie, which was set, back before they froze him. And then
1945.
Yeah. And then so she gets it in between, 90 or, 6 years before 93. So 87 or whatever. Is that right math?
That's when she already built a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and Pegasus was already around for like 10 years before that.
So however they connect that, I'm interested to figure that out. Hopefully we get some, because she's going to, obviously we see in the end trailer that she's going to come in contact with Captain America and Black Widow at least, assumingly all the other characters later on in the movie.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo. Rufio. So, I'm really excited about Captain Marvel. It's a great movie. A couple of things Tasha said, and I have agreements with when we first found out Brie Larson was going to play Captain America. I was on the fence about it. Tasha was on the fence about it, I'm pretty sure. We just didn't know how.
A lot of people didn't like the Kree battle suit.
Well, nobody liked the Kree battle suit. Which, by the way, going to that whole thing, how she chose the colors was pretty cool. I like that. Apparently, Charlie freaked out at the neon suit, the neon pinstripe suit. She loved that.
Which I think also is comic book canon.
Yeah, so I think all the costumes that they went through is a throwback to one of the comic books. So they did the black and gold for Miss Marvel. They did that, the neon, and then I think that they did a blue and like silver too, which I think is her. I don't know, back in the day, one of the back in the day ones.
The Silver Age or something.
Yeah. So that was all good. So one of the things Tasha had mentioned was that she didn't, you get Envy Adams' voice for Captain Marvel, and that's all kind of like, I mean, we're on the fence about how we felt about it because we pictured Captain Marvel being
Shazam in DC.
Huh?
The original name of Shazam was Captain Marvel.
Yeah. No. So anyway. Speaking of, I might have early screening tickets to that. We'll talk about that tonight. So Captain Marvel, I don't remember where I was even at. What was I talking about? I screwed up my thing. Oh, her voice. We always thought she would be a little more, be a little bit more burly voice.
I thought her voice was perfect.
Well, and so that's what I was going to say is, I definitely, I don't have anything to say, but I definitely think Tasha was on that, and so some other people might have that opinion that she might have been too soft, as far as her voice. I thought she did good as as far as acting wise. I mean, it wasn't like a painstaking acting. She wasn't dressing in all blue makeup or putting a Grinch outfit on or whatever. So, I mean, she didn't have much to contend with as far as like outside factors in her acting, which is a lot of people's excuses, I'll call them. But the biggest thing I want to touch on through the whole movie, and it's not even Captain Marvel related, it's literally Stanley related, is the cameo.
I was going to say the 90s throwbacks throughout the entire movie, I think, and this falls under one of them.
Yeah.
So not only the Nine Inch Nails t-shirt that was specially licensed and made for the movie, which I thought was awesome. There was another 90s thing that was redone for the movie as well.
Blockbuster?
Like, get permission for it. I don't know if it was the Blockbuster, but like they had to get like special permission from like a certain group. I can't remember what it was. But
Dale,
Drew,
get on that.
Keep going on what you were going to say, because I'm about to comment on that when you're.
So our Stan cameo was his second to last posthumous. It's the same thing. Posthumous cameo we're going to get. he had filmed the Avengers Endgame one and the Captain Marvel one, and did the voice work for the Into the Spider-Verse one prior to him parting ways with us. And so, go ahead.
No, I was just pointing at the Stan Lee floating right here.
Yeah,
that's not there. Always right here.
Always, he's always in between us. So the coolest thing though was, and he touched on it he touched on it in a video, was referencing Kevin Smith, which was one of Stan Lee's first cameos in a movie. So basically, Kevin Smith is in part somehow in the Marvel universe, which is, I think, or at least the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how it stands now. Because Stan Lee's holding the Mallrats script. And I thought it was really cool. I watched the interview, and Kevin Smith knew about it. Basically couldn't really say much about it. Didn't know how it was going to play out, in its entirety, but basically knew the line he was going to say, and that, it was going to reference the Mallrats script. Being in 1995, that hits it right in the time zone of
when Stan Lee would be reading the script.
When Stan Lee would be reading the actual script to be in the Mallrats movie. And you want to say anything?
Yeah, so like when I saw that in the theater, I was freaking out. Like, so Derek saw it with me, and Derek kind of didn't know either. But I was like, oh my God, that's such a huge deal that he's sitting there. Because I was like, he says that exact same line in Mallrats, like he's rehearsing for his script in Mallrats while it's there. And I was like, that is like, not only is that that's a Stan Lee cameo, but it's also a Kevin Smith cameo. Like, is it like too soon to say that like Kevin Smith should be the next Stan Lee in our lives? Like, I mean, I don't necessarily, like, I understand he's not like a creator of like comics and stuff like that, no, but he is really a big creator for like the geek-ish chic movement, I think.
Well, so, I mean, I think he definitely makes being a geek, he's definitely made his name for being a cool geek. Yeah. I mean, being a nerd has made him pretty much everything he's doing. But one of the bigger things is, or what to touch on what you were saying just a minute ago, is I think he has done a few versions of comics. He's done some Batmans, he's done some Marvel comics.
Jay and Silent Bob are technically a comic hero group, like, like not just Blunt Man and Chronic, but I mean like the actual characters of Jay and Silent Bob, have their
something with licensing about the Air Force, I think.
Oh, to use older symbols or something like that?
Yeah, I can't find anything about it. I'm sorry.
Way to bring it up. Thanks, Dale. I knew it was something. I mean, I know, like, obviously the Air Force, you couldn't have women fighter pilots either at the time, so that's why they're working on Project Pegasus. But
I know, like, when I was watching Stargate, they had special permission from the United States Air Force for certain things they did, and they could have had something for that too.
Yeah.
So,
it was the Facebook post that got me though too. Like after the movie, I went home and saw Kevin Smith's reaction to like the movie, and he's like, "I am sobbing."
His Instagram post was what I saw, and then he had done a second actual full sit down video where he explained that he knew kind of what was coming and everything like that, just how and when. So what actually happened based on his video that he had posted was, Stan was a little lower in the feelings range when he filmed it. So they didn't have good voice lines. So Kevin Feige called Kevin Smith and asked him if he had outtakes of his line from Mallrats. And he had said something about calling
Miramax, or
calling Universal Studios because they would have the B-roll footage. So what actually sorry, I'm just trying to find the exact.
Josh isn't the only one who doesn't prepare for things.
No, it's fine. It's
I want to find the exact words because I know it's the True Believer line, but
I'm sure, like in some respects, it's just from the B-roll, because that's what it has to be. A lot of stuff like that, actually, when somebody dies on set, they have to use B-roll and footage of them not talking, or kind of like the back of their head of a different character or something, just to get through the next little bit. Do you think they're going to do cameos in Endgame for Stan Lee?
Yeah, that's already been done.
They did film his cameo for Endgame. So, like I said, the Endgame is going to be his last posthumous cameo. Actually, in the video, they may make a throwback to him. They may keep the Marvel opening header, throughout. I think it would be very nice if they did, just because it's a nice level. I guess what do we call it? Not montage, but
nod.
Nod to Stan Lee. It could be a good cameo, or he could get a couple good cameos, a couple good lines. They could pull something from old outtakes, like you said, and maybe drop a something that sounds like him. But
yeah.
You may see just like a brown khaki shirt or brown khaki coat or tan khaki coat, whatever, with a green undershirt or undersweater.
I mean, and they can do what they do.
Like that one guy.
So in all of the like the Netflix Marvel shows, they still have like Stan Lee cameos, but it's not actually Stan Lee. Like they'll have like a poster and have his face like in the background there on the poster, like something like that, like hidden, like an Easter egg, kind of like the Psych pineapple. Like, I mean, if you made that in like the Marvel movies, and then obviously the intro, like if you just keep that Stan Lee tribute intro for the next decade, I think we'll be okay too.
All right. Well, so Captain Marvel's great. Please go see it.
Yeah, it's the highest grossing female lead movie ever now.
Yeah.
I think it beat Wonder Woman in box office. It was, I think it's still probably one of the number one movies out right now.
Dale, while you're checking on that, we should get into our blind science questions.
Blind science, yum.
Well, I got to pay attention to that.
Blinded by the science.
So, blind science question, Josh.
Blinded by science.
I had a feeling you might not be good at this topic, so I we can stump you on this one. How are fossils formed?
Yeah.
Now, there's specific things I need from this answer.
Okay.
So I need you to, there's certain ways that fossils are formed.
Yep.
In as many ways as you can.
Okay.
And I'm looking for
60%.
I'm looking for the process. No,
okay.
I'm giving you.
Let me cheat, and maybe I can explain this in the best way, because I do very loosely know how fossils are formed. And actually, when I was watching, so just to kind of backtrack here, not trying to stall for time because I'm not doing any thinking if I'm talking. Everyone knows that. I was watching Brave Wilderness on YouTube, which is one of my favorite YouTube channels, and they're doing like a Jurassic World kind of throwback. And they were at the Field Museum in Chicago, so they were hanging out with a bunch of dinosaur fossils, and like literally they're hanging out with a brontosaurus or Brachiosaurus like thigh. And he's like, "Oh my god, it's so heavy, yada yada yada." And he's like talking. He's like, "Oh, imagine them having to move this thing because it's so big and so heavy." And then in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I was like, "You're not holding on to an actual bone. Like that's like probably one of the biggest misconceptions about fossilization. People think that like the bones are what's left over, but the problem is the bones aren't what's left over. What happens is you actually get sediment from whatever source that it's in, that as the bones kind of degrade and deteriorate away, the sediment fills the spaces there of the bones and then makes it rock hard. It mixes with the calcium and things like that in the bones. But what you're getting is essentially an amalgamation of rock that's outside of the surrounding rock around it. That is what's forming these fossils. So very seldom do you get actual bone. It's the same reason why we can't get viable DNA from fossils because there is no more DNA in there. If there was bones, you could technically get DNA from the bones, but since they're not actual bones, it's rock.
Side note, did you see that giant woolly mammoth that we started to like start itself?
So, and that's what I was going to say too. Yeah. So like one of the things we have done though is we have been able to find like for like mammoths and saber-toothed cats and things like that. They're not necessarily frozen, but they're in a state where like it's preserving, kind of like freeze drying, like mummification in that sense. And there are some dinosaurs that do have some of this mummification process going down where it's essentially like drying it out completely.
It's like jerky.
And yeah, essentially turning it into this like wrapped thing. But usually
those aren't fossils though.
No, those aren't fossils. Those are actually, I mean, that's just, essentially mummies, of what they're pulling.
Well,
those do have viable
question.
I know. So I'm saying the process of what happens is as the bones erode away, not erode away, as the bones just essentially break apart and I mean, obviously nothing's keeping them together. They're replaced by other minerals. And there are sometimes like reactions that happen with the bone products in there as well that can turn them into like I do not know. I would not know what mineral it is that is making the bones. Like if it's like some sort of calcite or something like that, that the bones are formed out of, or the bones become when they're fossils. I wouldn't know that. I know there are some cases where like gold has actually replaced the bone in some things where like.
So you have very close to meet my threshold. There are 3 major ways fossils are formed. Can you name the 3 different ways fossils are formed?
So
the way you've described it is pretty much one way.
Yeah. I mean, I would say for things like if you have like I know like lake bed fossils a lot of times, like for like nests in like Argentina, what happened there is like they were swallowed by mud and water. And then the mud and water actually, like after it goes through, it eroded away the stuff and there were just holes there. So then the next, thing that came through filled those holes and then made it what the fossil was. But again, I'm not sure with what, I mean, I know there's like essentially like a melting process, essentially like if they fall like.
You're giving me a lot of stuff and you're using words that I like. So fossils are formed in a number of different ways. The most are formed when plants or animals dies, near watery environments, and then buried in mud or silt. Soft tissue quickly decomposes, leaving behind hard bones or shells, and over time, sediment builds up on top of them and hardens into rock. As the encased bone decays, minerals seep in, replacing the organic material cell by cell in a process called petrification. Really wanted you to say something with petrified or something like that, but that's fine if you didn't. Alternatively, the bones may completely decay, leaving a cast of the organism. The void left behind may be then filled with minerals, making a stone replica of the organism. So you were very good with a lot of that stuff.
And that's what I was kind of going with like the nests, because I'm pretty sure that like all those Brachiosaurus nests were found in an Argentinian ancient lake bed.
So there's one more type of fossil that I don't know why they call this fossil. I wouldn't call it a fossil.
Is it the tree sap fossil things, embers? Yeah. So that was the other thing I was going to say about viable DNA, because technically sometimes you can get things like that'll like crystallize around. So like an ember or tree sap, that the ember itself turns into a hard rock fossil. But inside that ember, the actual organism still has some viable mitochondrial DNA left. It was one of the things that people, obviously, they took that to the extreme in Jurassic Park to make the Jurassic Park dinos. But even then, they mentioned in Jurassic Park that there were segments of the DNA that were no longer there and missing, so they filled them with other things. It's just real life. The last dinosaurs dying off 65 million years ago. Good luck having any viable DNA. Even if they could survive that long, they would just not be viable.
Yeah.
So mammoths.
I think you got it. So I'm going to say 8 of 8.
Boom. I thought you were going to ask me about like different eras. So like I loosely Googled like the different like periods in time.
Done told you can't give them any hints.
But it was because they mentioned all three in that video I referenced earlier. Don't
worry. I'm going to try to stump you this year.
So you did a lot. I'm off to a better start this year than I was last year. So I don't know what's going on.
I would have got casts and molds and replationism or whatever it's called.
You wouldn't have got amber?
Huh?
You wouldn't have got the amber?
No.
Yeah.
I knew the replacing and I knew casts and molds, but I didn't know like the petrification or anything like that. So.
Petrification's a word I've heard before in that sense, but it's just not something I would have used.
The only time I've ever referenced petrification is wood.
Yeah.
In wood, like petrified wood, maybe like mummification type of like that. But so last thing here, I know we could probably talk about this forever. Do we want to just touch on it and maybe come back to it next week, or do we want to?
Yeah, let's touch on it because then we get more information and then talk about it next week.
Yeah, because it is still kind of being investigated. Yeah, but I came across this
quick math. How many of these are currently in rotation?
64, I think.
Okay.
How many of this type of plane?
Yeah, if you want to double check, but I think it's in the 60s. So a couple days ago, there was a second crash. There was a crash of a 737 MAX 8 Boeing aircraft in Nigeria, I believe. And this is the second version of this aircraft to crash with very similar reports. They shortly after takeoff report having issues and then turn around, come back to land. And as they turn around and come back to land, they end up losing communications and just crashing and falling out of the sky. So this is the Boeing 737 MAX 8. They stopped grounded flights in Africa and Asia. Then Europe grounded the flights, and then yesterday Donald Trump tweeted out some nonsense about autopilot being to blame, and then today made an executive order to ground the flights, the Boeing 737 MAX 8 in the United States. And from what I read, that was only of the airlines that are actually using these. I think it was only like 60 that are in use currently by the domestic airlines for the 737 MAX 8 that are affected by this ground stop here. But grounding, I don't know why I said ground stop.
Some of the 737s that are not affected are the MAX 9, MAX 200, MAX 10, and MAX 7. Of the 737s, there was 376 built, and all numbers of those, Max 8, Max 9, Max 200, 10, and 7. So, 65 is, probably a good portion of, a good fifth of those. I mean, I would say that's right around.
It's a decent chunk. And I mean, Boeing's stock is taking a tumble because of this now too. My biggest thing that I don't like is I don't like them blaming it on autopilot. Planes have been successfully using autopilot to take off, fly, and land all the time, all on their own with very minimal input from pilots for the last decade at least.
So, I mean, I wasn't aware of this. I mean, I've flown the plane a couple of times. I've done plane travel here and there. I was not aware that how much of autopilot would you say takes the cake for like what it's doing? I mean, you're
on a daily basis, autopilot probably takes care of 95% of all flying in the plane.
Yep. Like I would say, honestly, the only thing that autopilot doesn't handle is the ground taxiing, which pilots usually do and sometimes do terribly.
Yeah, I would say I'm just including flight. I'm not even including taxiing.
Yeah.
So taxiing, obviously the pilot has to do that. But takeoff is usually done, I would say 60% by autopilot, but sometimes that they don't do it by autopilot. They take off, and once they get to about 10,000 feet, everything is run by autopilot.
Yep. And I mean, and I've been on plenty of flights where, like, they announced after the flight, like, Thank you for being part of the test. That flight from takeoff to landing was entirely done by autopilot. We want to thank our partners at such and such for helping us out with this. Like, a lot of the times the pilots are just there to
emergency.
Yeah. And I think what people forget is that pilots for a long time, and this isn't all pilots, obviously Dale's father-in-law is a pilot. I know personally pilots that have worked, or I'm friends with, people that are now being pilots for different aircrafts, personal aircrafts and commercial aircrafts, fighter pilots. I'm not saying that like pilots are a problem. I'm saying humans are a problem. And a lot of times, most of the time that a flight is going through, it is in optimal conditions. An autopilot will fly just fine. Whereas if you had a drunk pilot or a sleepy pilot or something like that, that's in full control of the plane without autopilot, those planes would crash and kill people. And if you look at our history, happened a lot due to pilot error.
Okay, so I want to correct Josh on this. Yes and no with what you just said. Autopilot is actually the cause of, I would say, 70%, and these are numbers I'm making up off the top of my head, 60 to 70% for pilot errors. But there's a reason for that.
It's because pilots overcorrect or do something opposite to what the autopilot's wanting.
Exactly. It's because there's and this was one of the things that I actually trained. I was a trainer when I was at Delta, and one of the things we actually talked about was a specific flight. It was on Scandinavian Airlines. We were de-icing. I was a de-icing trainer, so obviously it was de-icing based. And one of the things that the Scandinavian airline did was they de-iced it, and they were wondering if it was a de-icing issue. It ended up being not a de-icing issue. They thought it was because a piece of ice went into the engine and ended up, hurting one of the engines. What happened was when a piece of ice is on the wing and then gets broken off and flies in the engine is you're supposed to spool down the engine, let it correct itself, and you can spool it back up. A new software, a new update or whatever, spooled the engine back up. And because it spooled the engine up, the pilot didn't know it was spooling it up. So it kept trying to bring the engine down because that's the way he was taught in this scenario.
Yep.
And the engine kept spooling back up automatically.
Yep.
Whose fault is that? Is that the pilot for not knowing that this software that the company didn't know that was installed on the aircraft? It was just pushed to the aircraft.
Yep.
Or is it the company's fault who made it? Or is it the pilot's fault for not knowing? Is it the company's for not, company who created the aircraft or flew?
And that's what this issue is, I think, going to come down to, is that there is a new update that came out last year for the autopilot, and I think it's exactly that. I think what's happening is the plane, through sensor error or equipment malfunction, is reporting something that the autopilot's like, oh, we need to correct this way for it. So the autopilot tries to correct. The pilot and co-pilot then are doing what they're trained to do, which is not do it that way. So they're fighting the autopilot to the point where once they overcome the autopilot, then it overcorrects, and then you get these planes essentially. So from both the reports of the 737 MAXs, they were falling straight out of the sky, which usually means that
most people don't realize. You see that bubble on a lot of the aircraft movies that show you your where you're at, like vertically with the ground.
Yeah,
it can tell you what your pitch is as far as if you're facing up or facing down, but it cannot tell you how high you are. And that's something that only GPS can give you. Only certain things on the aircraft can give you. Not pressure, not anything else, because that fluctuates with storms, that fluctuates with
barometric pressure changes.
Talking about your altitude?
Altitude, yeah.
Yep.
Altitude can only be told by a computer. Yep. And so you have to rely on that. And when your computer's telling you that you're falling straight out of the sky, or you're facing straight down, or you're not facing straight down, but you're essentially decreasing rapidly or something bad like that, what are you going to do?
So usually what happens in the sense where a plane's falling straight down out of the sky, it means that either engines have failed, they're not working, or the pilot knowingly turned down power to the engine in order to correct for some sort of action like that. So I think what happens is a lot of the times autopilot would try to lift the flight up, and to overcorrect, the pilot's like, no, stop going up, go down, and it lowers, it cuts the engine. So then the autopilot stops doing it. And once you get that, I mean, those planes have a terrible glide ratio, so they're just boom, and they just crash, especially only being 25, 30,000, because they're shortly after takeoff. These aren't at cruising altitude when this is happening. Just like when you're, driving a car, the beginning and the end of your destination are usually the most dangerous times. Same thing with flying. Obviously, takeoff and landing are the times statistically where you're going to have the most problems. And I think that's one of the things with this autopilot. I don't think it's the autopilot necessarily we should be blaming. I don't think it's the pilots we should be blaming. I think it's honestly a problem with how we teach pilots with technology. We have an aging, I should say, pilot demographic. I would like to see the numbers on this, because I bet it's going up. The average age of pilots with vision correction and things like that are actually probably going up. Pilots are getting older, and pilots are probably also not learning how the code and how this autopilot is functioning on their aircraft that they're flying.
So there are an influx. There is not a lot of new pilots being trained.
I would love to be a pilot.
There is so much that you need to do to become a commercial pilot that it is not worth doing unless you, one, want to do it, so you have the drive to go do that, because it is so outrageously expensive just to be a pilot. You have to take so many loans out, way more than any profession in the world, because of you need to. We can get into this later if you want to, but I wanted to read this quick excerpt from Wikipedia. October 29th, 2018, Lion Air Flights 610 was a flight from Indonesia to, I don't know. I can't read.
Flight from Indonesia.
Indonesia. That crashed. All 189 passengers were killed. And then on March 10th, 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashed from Ethiopia to Kenya.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
And one was 6 minutes, one was 12 minutes after the flight takeoff.
Yeah. So both of them, and I think they both reported similar things that were happening at the time.
Is that 737?
Angle, yeah, the first one was angle of attack data is automatic nose down trim. So it was going straight down, it was stalling, and then the second one that just came out, I have no data on that.
Yeah, well, they found the black boxes. They haven't done anything. But I know in both these cases, not only was Boeing involved in the investigation, the local authorities were involved in the investigation, and the
FAA.
The FAA, I don't think it's not the National Highway Safety Administration, but it's essentially the National Transportation Safety Administration. I think the NTSA is investigating all of these flights as well.
NTSA.
I think that's the National Transportation Safety Administration.
I think it's IATA.
IATA. It was one of those things. I can't remember the acronym, but it's a United States federal government thing that is looking over both these flights. I just think 2 flights out of, and I don't mean to be rude here, but 2 flights out of the probably thousands a day that are happening over the course of 365 days. I think it's they're pulling the trigger too soon to be like, ground all these flights.
No, I don't think they are.
I definitely, I mean, I don't think,
I think it's worth looking into until they figure it out.
Let's go back to
have a solution to the problem before you.
But they don't know what the problem is. That's the thing. Like,
yeah, well, figure it out. Do the research.
What if the problem's not anything to do with the aircraft? It's just bad pilots.
Well, the other thing, if you take all of them out of flight and you don't just prepare your pilots that, hey, we've been having trouble with this XYZ. We don't know what's causing it. Do as you will, but
what is this? And that's the issue, is they don't have a solution for it.
Yeah, because the Airbus 319 had this problem years ago. So the Air France flight from France to Brazil had something similar to this happen, except it was with frozen pitot tubes. So the airspeed indicators were wrong on certain sides of the aircraft, which were making the autopilot think that the aircraft was turning because airspeed was changing. So what happened is it would overcompensate and flip the aircraft upside down and turn it into a barrel roll, essentially. And I mean, they found out that it wasn't necessarily the autopilot's fault. It wasn't the pilot's fault. You know, the pilots were doing terrible things to correct against it, but it turned out that it was a bad pitot tube. And there was a bad heating element in the Airbus 319s, and all they had to do is just go through and retrofit these pitot tubes to thaw out a little better. And I think it's going to be something similar to that. I bet it's a communication problem between some piece of the equipment on the plane and the autopilot plus pilot.
And if they were to, even if they were to come back and say, ignore this or to bypass this, that is a solution that would work. But they don't have that because there's like 4 times the amount of things that you need to do to double check what you have going on in a plane. How
many flights are they stopping? Because, I mean, in some markets,
very little.
I think, though, in some markets, the Airbus 737 MAX 8, it makes up like 60+% of some of these fleets worldwide.
I wouldn't say so.
Because I think that Ethiopian Airlines, it's like a high percentage of their aircraft are MAX 8s.
Which it very well could be. I would say, based on the numbers that I've looked at just on Wikipedia, that it's probably a low number and it's not affecting anybody largely. If they continue grounding them, they will. But I don't think it will affect anybody in the short term. They can be grounded for a month.
But I mean, I think
Australia, Canada, China, Egypt, European unions, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mongolia, Singapore, Turkey.
It's pretty much worldwide.
Pretty much all the major spots have banned flying in their airspace.
Yep.
This just within last 15 hours, Microsoft is now letting Xbox One owners stream their PC games to their consoles and use controllers to play them.
Woo!
Now stream with a newly updated app, wireless display app. You can now stream your Steam games and other titles directly on Xbox One.
Stop! I can only get so erect.
Okay, we're at 81 minutes.
We're at 81 minutes.
Yes. Thank you guys for listening to our fun rant. Dale and I have both worked at airports, and I've like flights
before. So it makes me practically a
expert.
Bye, guys.
It's still safer to fly than drive.
Not wrong.
Just throwing that out there for everybody.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Sexy Nerd Science Season 5.
Make sure to like us and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Don't forget to check out our merch on Teespring and support us on Project Nerd Patreon at patreon.com/Project Nerd.